Okay, this is a quick little video on some Stampbord pieces that I found when tidying up my office, craft room space, and I thought I would do a little video on this. I didn't even remember that I had all these pieces, and I don't even recall what they were for, but Stampbord is a surface that is based on this hardboard panel with a kind of a workable soft clay surface. Now, when I say soft, it's pretty hard to the touch, but it's malleable in terms of being able to scratch back into it and make negative reverse marks with various tools such as scratch knives, sandpaper, steel wool, and the specialty tools put out by Ampersand Art, who is the manufacturer of Stampbord. But this is a surface that has been around for a while, but well, I can't remember the date, but I started developing some smaller pieces with them, and we kind of named it Stampbord because clayboard kind of got confusing for a lot of people. They thought it had something to do with ceramics, understandably so. But anyways, I have a box of samples here that I came across of some not scenes, not all of them are scenes, but just some pieces that I did way back when. This stamp here was from, I believe it was from a Stamp in the Hand, and I think it's just one leaf stamped several times, but it's in the eraser carving style. And it's really perfect to go along with Stampbord because you can scratch back in, and I put in all these kind of outline types of scratches back into it, so it kind of matches the eraser carving spirit of the actual design. This Stampbord piece is real shiny because I sprayed it with a polyurethane. Typically it's a polyurethane spray. It's used on things like furniture. So it has this feel of a kind of a glazed tile, but all these inks on here are your typical dye-based inks. You can also use all kinds of other things, like you can paint on it with different types of paint. You can use alcohol inks, and not just the crafting styles of inks. You can use kind of the art mediums if you want to. One of the things that's nice about these pieces, boy, this piece is really dusty, pieces in terms of the tiles, the boards, is that they stick out, so they're dimensional. So you can have these embellishments that are raised on a piece. And this this image is by Zetiology. Luckily I put a little notation in there, but just these little kind of raised things right here kind of give it a nice, feel in terms of this kind of geometric repeated shape card, I guess. All these squares like that, but I just sponged on some color onto them, sprayed them off and mounted them. One thing that I could have done to take this another step was I like these boards right here are just, this one I put a little bit of ink on it, but I like putting things like metallic inks on the edges of them to, just bring another little element of color and reflection and so forth on the tiles. And sometimes what I do is I just kind of take these pieces and I just dab them into like a pigment ink pad, and my preference is metallics, so let's see, I forgot what size this is. It's like 3 by 5 or something like that. This might not be one of their official sizes. It might have been some scrap pieces that I had them send to me just to use at demo tables and whatnot. I don't know what image, who that is from, or the sun. Didn't mark them down. This is another one by a Stamp in the Hand. It's kind of nice having that piece. It's a substantial card when you add these pieces to it. These panels right here, these boards are archival museum quality boards, so they're really super high quality. This is always one of my favorite images. Boy, I can't remember who that was from. I bought it at a Stampa Barbara back in the day up in Santa Barbara, but see all these little scratches right in here? Let's see if it's focusing in, but all those little scratch marks are scratched in with a scratch knife, so you're really able to add this kind of dynamic look to a piece. Okay, kind of a scene here. These trees down here, kind of bringing in an extra little element to them with those little scratch marks in there, those little textures. So instead of using something like a white gel pen to add on those little textures, you can really get some detailed marks with like a little pointed scratch nib like this, and just putting in those little marks like that. And this is the nebula in the background, but see this kind of flare type of effect like that? I used a fiber brush, which is this little fiberglass hairs on it, to kind of whisk out some ink that I've applied with the sponging technique on there, just to give it that extra little, I don't know, kind of soft, dynamic flair to that sky area. Triptychs and, I don't know, dual panel pieces. This is the Rocky Peaks right here, but you can see how these can be stamped in 3 different pieces like this. I think what I did is I took the stamp and then I took each tile and I stamped it onto the stamp like that, as opposed to putting all these together and putting the stamp on top of that. I'll do that sometime in a video lessons. Unless I've already done that, I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, these pieces right here I took and colored in the perimeter, or the edges, with blue pigment ink. Okay. Oh, we'll just go through these really quick. These little flares out here are done with this scratch knife, and I used like a ruler to do these little lines coming out from the light, and put in some extra little scratches on those clouds. Little tiny scene in here. See those little scratch marks down here on those reeds? Just to give them a little bit of extra dimension. Oh, more of the same. This is just using the oak branch, so it's just a real, I don't know, kind of a decorative element. It's almost, well, not quite abstract, but a little bit. But you see those little lines in there just to give it a little bit of extra dimension. Kind of brings light into the scene by putting in those little reverse marks. I don't know, I have a lot of these things right here. You can see that flare coming up in the on the horizon. I mean, it's sponge color, but you can see those lines coming out of there. Kind of adding that extra little touch, you know, that's kind of fun to add in there. It's those details, you know, those details are always the type of thing that kind of, you know, you can get the viewer's attention or something like that, the recipient of the card, but then if you do these little extra touches, you know, in terms of details, it can keep the viewer's attention and kind of create this kind of visual pathway in terms of them observing, you know, the various objects within a scene, or just general card doesn't have to be a scene. This is just a monochromatic board. This is kind of the size boards that they used to, well, that they still sell, but you know, stampers don't really work on panels this size too much, you know, but we have them cut down into those smaller sizes that I've been showing, just for kind of the embellishment type of idea for cards. But this is just a general scene. I was hoping to kind of replicate this kind of beach grass type of thing going on, but being able to add those kind of reverse marks in here, like that, all those little scratches in there. Now, some of them are in the design itself, but what I've done is I've gone in and I've reiterated that. So that type of ability, you know, that type of ability to do that type of thing really kind of helps to obscure the individual aspect of repeated impressions. Okay, so in other words, when you stamp out that, you know, this is the same brass texture stamped out about 8 times here in the foreground. It's the tall brass stamp. That blends together okay, and then bringing in some extra tones in here, these black, gray tones in here, blends it together even more, but that extra little aspect of going in, scratching all those textures over the entire area really forces the, or helps to kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, it blends everything together even more so. It's like the final step in creating kind of a seamless area within a scene, okay? I mean, it happens already inherently in the designs, but it really helps with you know, additional marks like that. Okay, kind of just a really extreme, crazy type of reverse marks on this one. I've kind of outlined a bunch of images on here and done the same with the clouds. That's the cloud cumulus image in the background, but it doesn't look like it at all because of the scratching treatment, and I've added these little stars in there, you know, with those little scratches. All those little scratches are done by hand with the scratching tool, so it's a kind of a fun little process, but a real different look is the ledge down here below, and I've just kind of gone and made those hard outlines in there. Just, I don't know, kind of a different touch on the scratch marks. Okay, these were some pieces that I did for the swap that I'm in. It was a triptych. Actually, no, this one wasn't part of the triptych. It was these pieces right here. Let's see, I think it was more like this, or this. I forgot what kind of, yeah, I think it was this. I think I kind of wanted this type of arrangement right here, but just monochromatics. Okay, I just stamped everything in black, toned in black, and then I've added a slight tint to these scenes right here, and those ones we're using the Adirondack Lights, Peach Bellini, and Aqua. So this one has a little bit of a blue tinge to it, and these ones are more Peach Bellini. So it kind of warms things, cools things a little bit, makes the color seem a little bit richer. But you can see where I've kind of reiterated, or I don't know, I've created this lighting, this glowing lighting by creating this vignette in the background. You know, I'm always talking about kind of darkening the areas around your scene. But here's the scratching aspect. You see those kind of little flares, those little lights coming out like that? I didn't I hand did it, but I used a ruler and I just scratched these lines into this area right here to have this kind of flare. And what I've done is I've done the same thing on all 3 of the pieces. See those scratches coming out of there? It really creates that kind of flare of light kind of idea coming from the sun, okay? So I've extended those rays of the sun, which are on the design itself, out completely to the edge of the card. And that's what's nice about the boards. Okay, so I'm saying there's just all scratch marks in the seaside cove in the background. And also little textures, you can see it in the mountain peaks as well. Okay. Additional textures here. See all those textures kind of scratched back into the surface. Really kind of unifying all the different objects in there. I put some little scratch marks into some of these buildings as well. This was another one for the Bio Swamp. I think this is from, I think all of these images that you see in here that aren't Stampscapes, maybe not that sun right there, but everything else is 100 proof press, by the way. I love their kind of their image line. Another large piece right here. The waterfalls, the watermill, and the tree cluster right there in the background. Little ripples right here. See those little kind of half circles, or I don't know, not half, but quarter circles like that. I've just gone in and taken a scratch knife like this, and I've done these little swoopy little marks in there just to kind of reiterate the shape of that rock right there. Okay, kind of more of the same. These little embellishment pieces right in here for, you know, your typical size card. It does, I don't know, this might kind of push the, if you're mailing a card out to someone, it might push it to the next ounce or something like that, but just the fact that this is raised on here kind of makes it nice for your recipients. Remember those little flares coming out from the center? This one's piece is kind of faded a little bit, but there's just this little cherub in here, kind of putting those little marks in there, kind of gives it kind of an explosive, dynamic background. More of the stamp of the hand imagery. This one. So, full scene on that. 1, 2, 3, 4 images on this tile. So you can see that little crescent moon that I've scratched back into the surface in there. Kind of fun look. Okay, more of the same. Oh, here's another one. I guess I really love doing those little scratch marks in there. Right there. Now here's what I do. I oscillate it a little bit. Like 4 scratch marks in a row, then I leave some empty space, some more, empty space, some more. So it's like these flares coming out like that. I don't do it everywhere though, because I think that would just be, I don't know, for me that would be just a little bit too much. But cloud cumulus back in here. But let me see, where did that other piece go, that extreme one? Okay, now, see what a different look you can do? These clouds in the background, they almost look like mountains or something like that, are the same clouds as this one. But just the fact that I've kind of gone through this kind of extreme kind of scratch treatment on the clouds, it just looks like this instead of this, where there's kind of some more subtle types of marks right in here. Just, I don't know, they're really subtle little few scratch marks, you know, not outlines and everything like that. See these little white marks down here? I've just kind of taken, let me see, I'll do it right here. I've sprayed this, but I can probably still get a scratch in it. This is the kind of spoon-shaped scraping tool, but see if I just kind of do a little spin like this, little drill. I don't know if you can see that, if it's picking it up, but let's do it down here. See those little marks like that? I don't want to drill through all the way to the board, I just want to kind of drill into the clay. But I can get these little splash marks, these little dots. They also work great for stars when you're doing it in the sky. You see those little things down there? It makes it more dimensional. It's subtle, but they do stand out. 9 pieces here. I like eyeballs. So here's a piece. I mean, this would look okay on paper too, but just the fact that these are kind of dimensional like that kind of gives it a nice feel. And really great for words and alphabet stamps, you know, stamping something out. You know, you can put someone's name or initials or something like that. I don't know if you would write happy birthday, but I mean, you could on these little tiles. These ones are in the inchies, you know, when inchies were really big. And they're also in the assorted packs. Now, I used to sell a lot of Stampbord in different sizes. I haven't been carrying them, but you can still find it online. Just enter Stampbord, and they spell it with a S-T-A-M-P-B-O-R-D instead of having an A in there. That's just ampersands. Kind of unique naming convention for their pieces. Okay, and just more, you know, more triptych. There's some kind of bee stamp. I think that was from Judykins. Oh, you know, someone did, they added that kind of that raised, I forget what they call it, some kind of gel on top of there, so that bee is kind of raised up there. It's not embossed, but it's some kind of just gel that you can add to it, and it has this dimensional feel to it. It's one of the nice things about the boards is you can lay down as much as you want. Look how much polyurethane I put on here. This is just absolutely sealed off with a thick, thick spray of it and allowed to probably dry overnight. But look at it. It has kind of a feel of a glazed fired tile, which is what I really like about that. Those pieces. Just more boards and whatnot. Kind of an extreme touch on the cloud again. That's the same cloud cumulus down there, but you can really have some fun with the how you use these embellishments or whatnot. How you scratch back into it. You can kind of, you know, give all of your stamps kind of a new take. On this one right here, now this is faded out a little bit, but what I've done is I've stamped those alphabets, those letter forms on top of kind of backgrounds with blue, but then I have gone in and I've added a little bit of a white highlight on some of these letters, so you can kind of give this three-dimensional feel to your word stamps, and that kind of is a nice little detail. You can do the same type of thing with like a gel pen on paper or something like that, but again, this is kind of nice having that dimension to it. And the ability to really lay down a lot of that kind of polyurethane over things. You know, if you, I don't know, I guess you could do that paper, but paper tends to soak in a lot of that, so I'm not sure if it would come out fat, glossy, you know, on paper. Maybe glossy cardstock, I don't know, but the paper tends to buckle a little bit, you know, and bend, you know, if you put too much media on it and it dries. So cardboard panels, you know, kind of nice. Anyways, that's about it. Stamp boards, fun mediums to stamp on.